Well, yes, indeed. That theme just, let's find out from Abolaji Osime, who is our guest today. She's an education consultant, joins us from Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, here we are talking about teachers, and we do know that, yes, a lot needs to be done. But let's start with getting your impression in terms of, several Teachers' Days come and go. We seem to commemorate it in one way or the other. Are we really living up to some of the essence, for instance, of this year's theme? If we could start from there.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I think it's important that we appreciate our teachers, because I believe that's the biggest and the greatest calling ever, as far as I'm concerned. I own a school, and I have a lot of teachers who I manage, and I think it's so critical that we celebrate them in Nigeria. We're not celebrating them enough, because without a teacher, we cannot all be who we are today. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you make a president in the classroom, you make an economist, a farmer, or whatever profession is made in the classroom. So in order to sustain society, teachers are by far, and the education sector, the most important sector in Nigeria. And we need to pay more attention to that, because without that, we cannot grow the economy, we cannot build our children, and that's why I think it's so critical we celebrate teachers.
What do you think is the challenge that we've got, and why people are stuck in certain mindset about our teachers that we don't seem to be doing enough for them?
I think we have so many problems in terms of teachers in Nigeria. When you look at what happens in terms of outcomes, you know, the results, the WAEC results, an education system cannot be better than the teachers it has. So we have to go back to the drawing board and say, do we have the right teachers in our classrooms? And when teachers have to, you know, to get into the College of Education, you're expected to have 3 credits. That itself tells you that we're getting the people who cannot really get into university, or people who cannot qualify for other courses, and they're making it like a second choice. So in every country, in Finland, in South Korea, the best countries, the best systems in the world, they have the top 10%, 20% in every academic class that enroll for the teaching profession. So they have the very best that enroll for teaching profession. So if we get people who are not really passionate about education, just because they have to do something, come into the, to teach our children, then we really are doing our children a disservice. So we need to do something about the entry point into College of Education. We need to do something about upgrading the academic qualification of the teachers, upgrading the curriculum in NCCE, so many things we need to do to ensure that we have the best teachers. Because if you're going to teach, you cannot teach more than what you know, basically. So if you're going to teach somebody who wants to be a lawyer or who wants to be a doctor, then you know that you need the best qualified in the universities to teach them. So we need to upgrade the entry requirements. That's number one. Our teachers have to be better paid. They have to be better compensated, and that's not the case right now. You know, teaching is looked down a bit in Nigeria, which is unfortunate, because that's the backbone of this nation.
If you look at it, it would seem as if we don't have to go too far in trying to fix it, fixing the problem in our education sector. Recall you just mentioned a particular country, Finland, which has even the United States going back to do its homework when it comes to education. What is it that they have done that we can also glean from and even, well, take and put back in our society?
For instance, in Finland, all the teachers have to have a master's degree. Without a master's degree, you can't go into the classrooms. So it's compulsory, and like I said, the top 10% in every university are the ones that go into the teaching profession. In fact, it's so popular that there's a waiting list for the teaching profession. And then the teachers in Finland are given the liberty to develop curriculums. Do you know that in Finland they don't do exams, they don't do tests? So you now wonder how come they're able to do so much, because they have the flexibility, they trust their teachers. What they'll tell you is that they trust their teachers because they have ensured that their teachers have done a master's, which means you've researched into the subject that you're teaching. You've gotten one of the highest qualifications. So you know your content. They teach you how to teach. It's one thing to be a teacher, to know what you're teaching. It's another thing to impart the knowledge. And sometimes that's why we have a challenge in Nigeria. You might know the physics, you might know the chemistry, but to impart it and to teach it is totally different ballgame entirely, and that's what we call the pedagogy. So there's a need to teach a 21st century child. There's a need to be interactive, to use the technology to teach, and that's really, we are way, way, way away from that here. And you cannot teach a 21st century child now in the knowledge economy in the traditional way that we're teaching them. We really need to move with the times, you know. So that's one of the disconnects, I believe. We need to look at the giants, and we need to look at what they've done. We need to look at Finland, South Korea, and the reason why they're having an excellent education system is that they are paying attention to what the teachers are taught and where they're taught, and the fact that they have to get the best teachers.
From all that you've enumerated, it would seem that we have work to do. The question then will be, where do we start? Because we're looking at teachers, in fact, recruitment, entry level into colleges of education, even the ones that are in the system, they're not properly remunerated, they're not properly motivated. The schools are not exactly in the state that they ought to be in. Where exactly do we start from?
I think we need to start from the colleges of education, because a lot of the teachers go through our colleges of education. And because a lot of those teachers who teach in primary school and nursery is the foundation of education. If you don't get it right at the primary level, then you've lost a lot of the problems we're having at SS, senior secondary school, started at primary school. So you need to get the best teachers into primary school. And when they go through the NCE or they go through the College of Education, like I said, they are accepted with 3 credits, you know, and 5 passes, but 3 credits. So that tells you that the entry is a problem already. It has to be the best students in Nigeria who have 5 credits, top A's, that must come into the NCE. And then it should be upgraded as well in the university. I would say upgrade the qualification to a degree level rather than NCE. So you're getting the best, absolutely the best. And right now, you know, from statistics last year and even this year, the education sector had the highest growth in terms of jobs in every sector. So that means there's such a huge gap. There's a huge demand for teachers, but we need qualified teachers. We need good teachers. We need teachers that would improve the outcomes. We can't continue to have 34% failing, 70% failing WAEC. And in private sector, we have a good result. So we need to find out what is private sector doing that public sector can look at.
But the problem is,
pay attention to our teachers, and we pay them.
If you say that we should start from the colleges of education, we need to attract the best minds to go, you know, to be lured into the colleges of education. If this is where the teaching profession is, where teachers have to carry placards in some instances to get their salaries paid, to get allowances, to get promotion, and you know the salaries don't come when they should come, and the remuneration is so poor. How do we begin to attract the best minds? If a child is scoring or getting all A's and says he or she wants to be a teacher, don't you think that the parents will be wondering what has come over the child?
I think right now the teaching profession is very attractive, and because of the job situation in the country, Corona, for example, has a program called I Teach, and a lot of graduates who found that they couldn't get into other sectors actually were trained by Corona to become teachers. So there are a lot of graduates who are out there who are passionate, but because it's attractive to go to the banks, and the banks are well paid, you find that passionate Nigerians are actually in the wrong professions. So what is happening now is that we have quite a few initiatives which is out there trying to attract the best minds into the teaching profession, at least for the private sector. And that is what the government needs to do. In order to attract them into the teaching profession, remuneration is very key. You know, because the private sector has sort of set the bar. You know, if you're paying them quite a bit of money, I mean, everybody will go to where they're better paid. So I would say, in order, and I'm concerned about 80% of Nigerians who are not in private schools. Majority are in public schools. And majority are, you know, vulnerable and need the best teaching. In the United States, public schools are much better than the private schools. So we need to focus. The money that we're pumping, for example, the UBEC funds are stuck in CBN, billions of them, because they have not directed them into the classroom. Everybody keeps talking about infrastructure. We need to look at the most important and the most effective way to improve results in Nigeria is to pump money in teacher education. Without the teachers, you cannot get the results. That's just it. You can have all the big classrooms, you can have all the big infrastructure, but if you do not pump money into teacher training and into the person who stands before the child, to teach the child, then we've missed it.